I was checking Robert Mitchell's morphine drip when his wife walked into the room carrying a box of his belongings from work. She didn't know what was inside, neither did I. But in 48 hours, that box would reveal a secret that had been hidden for 23 years. Robert was 51 years old, pancreatic cancer, stage 4, with metastasis to his liver and lungs. The oncologist had given him 2 weeks, maybe 3 if he was lucky. He wasn't lucky. His skin had that yellowish tint that comes with liver failure. His eyes, once a bright hazel according to the photo on his bedside table, were dull and sunken. He'd lost 62 pounds in 3 months. But when Jennifer Mitchell walked in, his wife of 26 years, he tried to smile. "Hey, Jen," he whispered. His voice was rough, damaged by the tumors pressing against his esophagus. "Hey, baby." She set the box down on the chair by the window. I stopped by the firm. "Marcus packed up your desk. He said—" Her voice cracked. "He said to take your time." Take your time, like time was something Robert Mitchell still had. I've been a nurse for 40 years, and I've learned that people say the cruelest things when they're trying to be kind. "Thank you," Robert said. He didn't look at the box. That should have been my first clue. Jennifer kissed his forehead and sat down beside his bed, taking his hand in both of hers. She was 48, auburn hair pulled back in a neat ponytail, wearing yoga pants and a St. Luke's Medical Center volunteer t-shirt. She'd been here every day since his admission. Every single day. Some families disappear when someone gets sick. Some show up only at the end. But Jennifer Mitchell had been here for every moment. "Sharon," she said, turning to me, "can I get him anything? Water? Ice chips?" "The ice chips would be good," I said. "His mouth gets dry from the oxygen." She stood immediately, grateful for something, anything to do. That's when I noticed Robert watching her leave. And the look on his face wasn't love. It was guilt. Deep, crushing guilt. If you've ever watched someone you love suffer through terminal illness, leave a comment, share your experience, and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next in Robert's story. October 23rd, 2019, Thursday afternoon, 4:17 p.m. That's when they admitted Robert Mitchell to St. Luke's Medical Center in Atlanta. I was working the oncology unit, 12-hour shift, and I'd already had 2 admissions that day. Robert was my third. The ER doctor had called up to warn me. 51-year-old male, acute abdominal pain, severe jaundice, weight loss, altered mental status from hypercalcemia. The CT scan showed a mass in the pancreas with extensive metastatic disease. Terminal. They always say it so clinically, like they're describing a bus route. Terminal. End of the line. When the transport team wheeled Robert up from the ER, Jennifer was walking beside the gurney, holding his hand. Their fingers were interlaced, and she was crying silently, tears streaming down her face. "Room 407, I said gently. "Right this way." We got him transferred to the bed. I started taking vitals while the ER nurse gave me report. Blood pressure, 98/62, heart rate 114, respiratory rate 22, temperature 99.8, oxygen saturation 91% on room air. I put him on 2 liters of oxygen through a nasal cannula. "Mr. Mitchell," I said softly, "I'm Sharon. I'm going to be your nurse today. Can you tell me your pain level?" 0 is no pain. 10 is the worst pain of your life. He opened his eyes, looked at me, then at Jennifer. 8, he whispered. "Okay, I'm going to get you something for that right away." I hung his IV medications, morphine for pain, Zofran for nausea, normal saline for dehydration. Jennifer stood at the foot of the bed, arms wrapped around herself, watching everything I did with desperate attention. "Is there anything else we can do?" she asked. "Anything that might help?" I've been a nurse for 40 years, and I've learned that, "Is there anything else we can do?" really means, please tell me he's not dying. "The most important thing right now is keeping him comfortable," I said. "The doctor will be up soon to talk about the next steps." Next steps. Another phrase that means nothing when someone is dying. Jennifer nodded. She pulled a chair close to Robert's bed and sat down, taking his hand again. "I'm here, baby," she whispered. "I'm right here." He squeezed her hand weakly, but he was looking at the ceiling. Over the next hour, I learned Robert Mitchell's story, or at least the version Jennifer told me. They'd met in college, University of Georgia, 1993. She was studying education. He was in pre-law. They'd been at the same party, reached for the same drink, and laughed about it. "He had this smile," Jennifer said, her eyes distant with memory. "This big, genuine smile that made you feel like you were the only person in the room." They dated for 2 years before getting married. Small wedding, just family and close friends, at a bed and breakfast in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Robert had gone to law school at Emory, made partner at Mitchell & Torres by the time he was 38. Corporate law, mostly contracts and mergers. "He worked so hard," Jennifer said, 60, 70-hour weeks sometimes, but he always made time for us, always. Us. I glanced at the framed photo on the bedside table. Robert and Jennifer with 2 teenage boys. "Your sons?" I asked. "Jake and Connor, 23 and 21. Jake just graduated from Georgia Tech. Connor's still at UGA. Her voice caught. "They're driving down from Athens tonight. They don't know yet how bad it is." They never do. Parents protect their children from death until they can't anymore. "He's so proud of them," Jennifer continued. "He coached their soccer teams when they were little, helped with homework, taught them to drive. He's been such a good father." She was using present tense, like he was still that man, like cancer hadn't already taken him. "And he's been a good husband," she added quietly. "Even when things were hard. Even when we fought about stupid things like money or whose turn it was to do the dishes. He always came back. He always said he was sorry." Something about the way she said that last part made me pause. He always said he was sorry, like he'd had a lot of practice apologizing. "You've been together a long time," I said carefully. 26 years. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "We were going to renew our vows next month, for our anniversary. He'd already booked the same bed and breakfast where we got married." She started crying then, quiet, desperate crying. "I don't know how to do this without him," she whispered. "I don't know how to be alone." I handed her a tissue from the box on the bedside table. "You're not alone," I said. "Your sons are coming. Your family will be here." But she shook her head. "Robert is my family. He's been my everything since I was 22 years old. I don't know who I am without him. I've been a nurse for 40 years, and I've seen this kind of love before. The kind that consumes, the kind that makes you forget you're a person outside of being someone's wife, the kind that makes the truth, when it finally comes, absolutely devastating." That evening, around 7:30 p.m., Robert's oncologist came by. Dr. Patricia Okafor, 54 years old, Nigerian accent, 26 years of experience in oncology. I'd worked with her before. She was direct but compassionate. She didn't sugarcoat, but she didn't strip away hope unnecessarily either. She sat down in the chair beside Robert's bed. Jennifer stood, but Dr. Okafor gestured for her to sit back down. "I've reviewed all of your scans and lab work," Dr. Okafor said, looking at Robert. "The cancer has spread extensively. Pancreas, liver, lungs, and there are spots on your bones." Jennifer made a small sound, not quite a gasp. More like the noise someone makes when they've been punched in the stomach. "How long?" Robert asked. His voice was steady. I admired that. After 40 years, I've learned that the people who ask how long directly are usually the ones who've already accepted what's coming. 2 weeks, Dr. Okafor said. "Maybe 3. I'm sorry." "Is there any treatment?" Jennifer asked desperately. "Chemotherapy? Radiation? Clinical trials?" At this stage, treatment would only make him more uncomfortable. The cancer is too advanced. The kindest thing we can do now is manage his pain and keep him comfortable. Comfortable. That word again. So we Wait? Jennifer's voice was rising. We just sit here and watch him die? I know this isn't what you wanted to hear, Dr. Okafor said gently. But yes, we focus on quality of life now, making sure he's not in pain, making sure he can say goodbye to the people he loves. Robert closed his eyes, and I saw something flash across his face. Not sadness, not acceptance. Fear. But not fear of dying, something else, something that didn't add up. After Dr. Okafor left, Jennifer excused herself to call the boys. I stayed to adjust Robert's pillows and check his IV site. Sharon, he said quietly. Yes? How much time do I really have? Dr. Okafor was honest with you. 2 to 3 weeks. He nodded slowly. That's not enough time. Time for what? He didn't answer right away, just stared at the ceiling, his breathing shallow and labored. To fix things, he finally said. What things need fixing? Everything. And then he closed his eyes, shutting me out. I've been a nurse for 40 years, and I've learned to recognize that look. The look of a man carrying a secret he doesn't know whether to take to his grave or confess. Jennifer came back into the room 20 minutes later, her eyes red and swollen. The boys will be here in a few hours, she said. She sat down beside Robert's bed again and took his hand. That's when I noticed the box from his office, still sitting on the chair by the window. Do you want me to move that? I asked, gesturing to it. Oh. Jennifer glanced at it like she'd forgotten it was there. No, it's fine. I'll go through it later. Sort out what he wants to keep, what can be thrown away. She said it so casually, like that box was just office supplies and old files. But Robert's hand tightened on the bed rail, and his heart rate spiked on the monitor. 126 beats per minute. Mr. Mitchell, are you okay? I asked, moving closer. Fine, he said quickly, too quickly. Just pain. I gave him an extra dose of morphine, but I didn't believe him, because I'd seen what happened when Jennifer mentioned that box. I'd seen the panic in his eyes. Jake and Connor arrived at 10:47 p.m. Both boys were tall, over 6 feet, with their father's hazel eyes and their mother's auburn hair. Jake, the older one, had a neat beard and wore a button-down shirt and khakis. Connor was in a UGA hoodie and jeans. They walked into the room like they were walking into a dream, or a nightmare. Dad? Jake's voice cracked. Robert opened his eyes, and for the first time since I'd met him, I saw real emotion on his face. Love. Pure, uncomplicated love. Hey, buddy, he whispered. Both boys moved to either side of the bed. Connor was crying openly. Jake was trying not to. Dad, what happened? Connor asked. Mom said you collapsed at work. Yeah, I've been sick for a while. Why didn't you tell us? Didn't want to worry you. Wanted you to focus on school. School? Jake's voice rose. Dad, you're... He couldn't finish the sentence. Dying. The word no one wanted to say. Jennifer stood and put her arms around both boys. The doctor says we have some time, she said, forcing optimism into her voice. A few weeks. We can all be here together. Make sure Dad knows how much we love him. Robert looked at his sons, and I saw that fear again. That terrible, secret fear. I went off shift at 7 a.m. the next morning, but I couldn't stop thinking about Robert Mitchell, about the way he'd reacted to that box, about the guilt in his eyes when he looked at his wife, about the fear when his sons arrived. Something wasn't right, and I've been a nurse for 40 years. I've learned to trust my instincts. When I came back on shift Friday evening at 7 p.m., the first thing I did was check on Robert. He was sleeping. Jennifer was in the chair beside his bed, reading a book. The boys had gone to get dinner in the cafeteria. How's he been today? I asked softly. Okay, Dr. Okafor increased his pain medication this morning. He's been sleeping a lot. I nodded and started my assessment. Blood pressure 94/58, heart rate 108, respiratory rate 20, oxygen saturation 89% on 2 liters. I increased his oxygen to 4 liters. That's when I noticed the box was gone. Did you go through his work things? I asked casually. Oh. Jennifer looked toward the window where the box had been. No, actually. Marcus, his law partner, came by this afternoon and took it back to the office. Said there were some files that needed to be handled before Robert died. That was thoughtful of him, I said. But something felt wrong about that. Why would a law partner personally come to retrieve a box from a dying man's hospital room? Over the next 3 days, I watched a pattern develop. Day 1. Robert barely spoke. When Jennifer tried to talk to him about memories, their wedding, the boys' childhoods, vacations they'd taken, he would respond with 1 or 2 words and then close his eyes. Day 2. A woman showed up, late 40s, professional attire, carrying a briefcase. She introduced herself as Marcus Torres, Robert's law partner. Except Marcus Torres was a woman. I need to speak with Robert alone, she said. Legal matters. Jennifer hesitated but eventually stepped out into the hallway with the boys. I stayed to check Robert's vitals. Marcus closed the door and moved close to Robert's bed. Did Jennifer open the box? She asked quietly. No, Robert whispered. You got it? Yes, it's locked in my office safe. But Robert, she paused. You need to tell her. I can't. You're dying. She's going to find out eventually. Not from me. I can't do that to her. She deserves the truth. She deserves to remember me as someone who loved her. Marcus shook her head. That's not your choice to make. They didn't say anything else while I was in the room. But as I left, I heard Marcus say one more thing. He called again. He's asking to visit. And Robert's response, no, absolutely not. Someone else wanted to visit. Someone Robert didn't want here. I filed that information away. Day 3. Jennifer brought a photo album. 26 years of memories, their wedding, the boys as babies, Christmas mornings, soccer games, beach vacations. She went through it page by page, narrating each photo like she was creating an audiobook of their life together. And Robert cried, silent tears streaming down his face. But he wouldn't look at the photos. He kept his eyes on the ceiling. Robert, look, Jennifer said gently, holding up a picture of the 4 of them at Disney World. Remember this? Connor was 6. He threw up on Space Mountain. I remember, Robert whispered. We were so happy, Jennifer said, her voice breaking. We've always been so happy. Robert's heart rate spiked to 142. I stepped in. Mr. Mitchell, you need to try to stay calm. Your heart is working too hard. Jennifer immediately put the album down. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset him. It's okay, I said, but I made a note in his chart. Patient becomes tachycardic when wife discusses family memories. Possible anxiety related to end-of-life concerns. Monitor closely. That was the medical note. But I knew it was something else. Guilt has a very specific signature on a heart monitor. On day 4, October 27th, Sunday afternoon at 2:33 p.m., something happened that changed everything. A man showed up. He was in his early 50s, tall, with graying hair and a neat beard. He wore jeans and a University of Georgia sweatshirt. He walked into Robert's room like he belonged there. Jennifer and the boys had gone home to shower and change clothes. Robert was alone. Well, alone except for me. Can I help you? I asked. The man looked at Robert, then at me. I'm here to see Robert Mitchell. Are you family? No. Friend. I'm sorry, but Mr. Mitchell is only seeing immediate family right now. The man's jaw tightened. Please, I need to see him. Just for a few minutes. Robert's eyes opened, and the look on his face when he saw that man. I've been a nurse for 40 years, and I know what love looks like. Real love. The kind that can't be hidden. The kind that survives decades. David, Robert whispered. David. The man's whole body relaxed at hearing his name. Hey, Rob. They stared at each other for a long moment. And I understood. I understood everything. I should go, David said quietly, glancing at me. No, Robert said, his voice stronger than it had been in days. Stay, please. I stepped toward the door. I'll give you some privacy. Sharon. Robert's voice stopped me. Can you make sure Jennifer doesn't come back for a bit? Tell her I'm sleeping. It wasn't a proper request. It was a desperate plea. I nodded. I'll do what I can. I stepped out into the hallway and closed the door behind me. Through the small window, I could see David move to Robert's bedside. I could see him take Robert's hand. And I could see Robert cry in a way he hadn't cried with Jennifer. Relief. Pure, desperate relief. I've been a nurse for 40 years, and I've seen a lot of secrets, but this one was going to destroy a family. David stayed for 37 minutes. I know because I watched the clock, ready to intercept Jennifer if she came back early. When he finally emerged from the room, his eyes were red and swollen. Thank you, he said to me, for giving us that time. Who are you? I asked directly. He hesitated. Then, I'm the person Robert loves. And Jennifer? She's the person he married. He walked away before I could ask anything else. I went back into Robert's room. He was staring at the ceiling again, but his heart rate had dropped to 98, more relaxed than I'd seen him since admission. Mr. Mitchell, I said carefully, can I ask you something? You can ask. I don't know if I can answer. Does Jennifer know about David? Long silence. Then, no. Are you planning to tell her? Another long silence. I don't know. How long? I asked. How long have you and David? 23 years. 23 years. 3 years into his marriage. Does anyone else know? Marcus. She's known from the beginning. Helped me. Keep things separate. And the box from your office? Robert's eyes closed. Letters, photos. Things I kept at work so Jennifer would never find them. My God. 23 years of a double life. 23 years of loving two people. Or maybe loving one person and being committed to another. She's going to find out, I said gently. Secrets like this always come out, especially when someone is dying. I know. His voice was barely audible. That's what I'm afraid of. That evening, Jennifer came back with the boys. She had bags of Chinese takeout and was trying to be cheerful. I know you probably can't eat much, she said to Robert, but I brought your favorite, Kung Pao chicken. Extra spicy, the way you like it. Robert looked at the container like it was a foreign object. Thank you, he whispered. Mom, let him rest, Jake said quietly. He's tired. Jennifer's face fell. I just thought I wanted to do something nice. I know, Robert said, and it is nice. I'm just not very hungry. She nodded and set the container on the bedside table. For the next hour, I watched the family try to have a normal evening. Jennifer told stories about the boys' childhoods. Jake talked about his new job. Connor described his classes, and Robert lay in bed, responding with monosyllables, his eyes distant. Around 8 p.m., Marcus called. Jennifer answered Robert's phone because he was too weak to reach for it. Oh, hi, Marcus, Jennifer said. Yes, he's here. Do you need to talk to him? She listened for a moment. Okay, I'll let him know. She hung up and looked at Robert. Marcus says there's paperwork you need to sign, for the firm. She's going to bring it by tomorrow. Robert nodded, but I saw the panic flash across his face. What paperwork? What else was Marcus protecting? Monday, October 28th. 9:47 a.m. Marcus arrived with a manila folder. I need Robert to sign some documents, she told Jennifer. Transfer of partnership shares, legal formalities. Jennifer nodded and stepped out. The boys had gone to the hotel to rest. I was the only one in the room. Marcus opened the folder and pulled out several papers, but she didn't ask Robert to sign anything. Instead, she pulled out an envelope and handed it to him. "From David," she said quietly. Robert took it with shaking hands. "He's not going to stop asking to see you," Marcus said. "And honestly, Rob, I think you should let him. You don't have much time left." "I can't, not while Jennifer is here." "Then tell her the truth." "I can't do that either." "So you're just going to die with this lie between you?" "Yes." Marcus shook her head. "You're a coward, Robert Mitchell." "I know." She gathered her papers and left. Robert stared at the envelope for a long time. Then he opened it. I pretended to be checking his IV pump, but I could see tears streaming down his face as he read. When he finished, he folded the letter carefully and held it against his chest. "Sharon," he whispered. "Yes? If I asked you to do something that might hurt someone, but it's the truth, would you do it? I've been a nurse for 40 years, and I've learned that truth, no matter how painful, is almost always better than lies. That depends on what you're asking. If I die before I can tell Jennifer, would you make sure she knows?" "Knows what?" "About David. About everything." "Why me?" "Because you're not family. Because you won't have to live with the aftermath. Because—" He paused. "Because you seem like someone who believes people deserve the truth." I thought about it. About Jennifer, who had spent 26 years loving a man who was living a double life. About David, who had loved Robert in secret for 23 years. About Jake and Connor, who were about to lose their father and possibly their entire understanding of who he was. "I can't promise I'll tell her," I finally said, "but I can promise I won't lie if she asks me directly." Robert nodded. "That's fair." That afternoon, something else happened. A letter arrived. Regular mail, addressed to Robert Mitchell at St. Luke's Medical Center. Jennifer brought it in from the nurse's station. "This came for you," she said, handing it to Robert. He looked at the envelope, and his entire body went rigid. "Who's it from?" Jennifer asked. "I don't know." But his hands were shaking as he tried to open it. Jennifer took it from him gently. "Here, let me." "No." Robert's voice was sharp, panicked. Jennifer froze. "I mean, I'll do it later, when I have more energy." Jennifer looked at him strangely. "Okay." She set the envelope on the bedside table. For the next hour, Robert stared at that envelope like it was a bomb. Finally, around 5 p.m., Jennifer went to the cafeteria. Robert immediately grabbed the envelope and tore it open. He read the contents, and then he started sobbing. Deep, wrenching sobs that made his whole body shake. I moved quickly to his side. "Mr. Mitchell, what's wrong? Are you in pain?" He couldn't speak. Just handed me the letter. I shouldn't have read it. It violated his privacy. But he'd given it to me. And what I read made everything make horrible sense. "Dear Rob, I know you said you didn't want me to visit. I know you're trying to protect Jennifer and the boys. But I can't let you die without saying goodbye. 23 years. That's how long we've loved each other. Half your life. All of mine that matters. I've lived in the shadows of your marriage. I've accepted holidays alone. I've pretended to be just a friend at firm events. I've watched you go home to her every night. And I did it because I love you. But now you're dying, and I can't accept being invisible anymore. I need to see you. I need to hold your hand. I need to tell you that these 23 years have been the best years of my life, even though they've also been the hardest. Jennifer will survive the truth. People always do. But I won't survive losing you without saying goodbye. Please, Rob, let me come. Let me be there at the end. You are the love of my life. Always, David." I folded the letter and handed it back to Robert. 23 years, I said quietly. He nodded, still crying. "And Jennifer never suspected?" "No, I was careful, so careful." "How did you meet him?" Robert took a shaky breath. Law conference, New Orleans, 1996. We were both there for a seminar on contract law, got drinks after. Started talking, and I knew. I knew immediately. That you loved him? That I'd been lying to myself my whole life. That I'd married Jennifer because it was what I was supposed to do. That I'd had 2 kids because it was what was expected. That I'd built this perfect life that wasn't actually my life at all. Why didn't you leave? Because I loved Jennifer too, just differently. She's my best friend, the mother of my children. She's good and kind, and she deserved better than me. But I couldn't hurt her. I couldn't destroy our family. So you lived 2 lives? Yes. For 23 years. Yes. I've been a nurse for 40 years, and I've seen a lot of complicated love, but this was different. What are you going to do? I asked. I don't know. Tuesday, October 29th. Robert's condition was deteriorating rapidly. His blood pressure was dropping. 88/52. His oxygen saturation kept dipping into the low 80s, even on 6 liters of oxygen. His kidneys were failing. Urine output had decreased to less than 30 milliliters in 12 hours. Dr. Okafor came by at 10 a.m. We're transitioning to comfort care only, she told Jennifer gently. His organs are shutting down. We're focusing entirely on keeping him comfortable now. How long? Jennifer's voice was barely audible. Days, maybe hours. Jennifer's knees buckled. Jake caught her. Connor started crying. And Robert looked at me, pleading, desperate. Time was running out. That afternoon, Jennifer asked to speak with me privately. We went to the family consultation room at the end of the hall. She sat down and stared at her hands for a long time. Can I ask you something? She finally said. Of course. Do you think Robert is happy? The question caught me off guard. What do you mean? I mean, do you think in his life he's been happy? With me? With our family? I've been a nurse for 40 years, and I've learned that sometimes the questions people ask aren't really the questions they want answered. Why are you asking me that? I said gently. Jennifer's eyes filled with tears, because for the last few days I've watched him with me and the boys, and he seems distant, like he's already gone, like he can't wait to leave us. He's dying. People often withdraw. No. She shook her head firmly. It's not that. It's something else. It's like he's been waiting for this. Like dying is a relief. She was closer to the truth than she knew. And there's something else, she continued. Yesterday, when that letter came, the way he reacted, he was terrified of me seeing it. Maybe it was work-related, something stressful. Sharon. She looked at me directly. I've been married to Robert for 26 years. I know when he's hiding something. And he's been hiding something for a very, very long time. My heart started racing. She knows, or she suspects. What do you think he's hiding? I asked carefully. Jennifer was quiet for a moment. Then, an affair, maybe multiple affairs. I don't know. What makes you think that? Little things over the years, late nights at work, weekend conferences that seemed excessive, his phone always face down, never letting me pack his work bag or clean out his office. She paused. And the way he loves me. It's real. I know it's real. But it's never felt complete. Like he's giving me part of himself but holding the rest back. I didn't know what to say. I'm not angry, Jennifer continued. I just want to know. Before he dies, I want to know who I've been married to. Have you asked him? I can't. Because if I'm right, it means our entire marriage has been a lie. And I don't know if I can handle that truth while watching him die. She started crying. What would you do? She asked. If you were me, would you want to know? I've been a nurse for 40 years, and I've learned that this question doesn't have a right answer. I think, I said slowly, that truth matters, even when it hurts. Because living with a question is sometimes worse than living with an answer. Jennifer nodded. Then I'll ask him, she said. Tonight, I'll ask him for the truth. But she didn't get the chance, because at 6:34 p.m., David showed up again. And this time, Jennifer saw him. She'd gone to the cafeteria to get coffee. She came back early. And when she walked into Robert's room, David was sitting in the chair beside the bed, holding Robert's hand. The three of them froze. "Who are you?" Jennifer asked. David stood slowly. "Get out," Jennifer said. Her voice was cold, controlled. "Get out of my husband's room." "Jennifer," Robert tried to sit up. "Who is he, Robert?" Robert looked at David, then at Jennifer. He's a friend, from work." "No." Jennifer's voice was shaking now. "Friends don't look at each other like that. Friends don't hold hands like that." Silence. "Who is he?" Jennifer asked again. "Jennifer, please. Who is he?" David stepped forward. "My name is David Patterson, and I've been in love with your husband for 23 years. The silence that followed was absolute. Jennifer stared at David, then at Robert. 23 years, she repeated slowly. 23 years? Robert started coughing, violently, blood-tinged sputum. I moved quickly to help him, but Jennifer blocked my path. "Did you hear what he said?" she demanded. 23 years. Robert. Robert couldn't speak. He was still coughing, gasping for air. I pushed past Jennifer and increased his oxygen, gave him medication. "Everyone needs to leave," I said firmly. "Right now. He can't breathe." "I'm not leaving," Jennifer said. "Yes, you are. He needs space." "He needs calm. You can come back in 15 minutes. I practically pushed both of them out of the room. In the hallway, I could hear Jennifer screaming. 23 years? 23 years you've been lying to me?" David's voice was quieter, but I caught fragments. "I never meant to hurt you. He loved you too. So complicated." I closed the door and focused on Robert. His oxygen saturation was 78%. His heart rate was 168. He was having a panic attack on top of his dying body shutting down. "Robert," I said calmly, "look at me, look at me." His eyes found mine. "You need to breathe. Slow breaths, in through your nose, out through your mouth." He tried, failed, tried again. Slowly his heart rate came down. 112, 98, 86. His oxygen saturation climbed back to 85%. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. "For what?" "For all of it. For lying. For hurting everyone. For being a coward." "You're not a coward," I said gently. "You're a man who tried to love two people and ended up hurting both of them. And my sons. Oh, God, my sons. They'll be okay." "How? How will they be okay with this?" I didn't have an answer. 15 minutes later, Jennifer came back. Alone. David had left. She sat down in the chair beside Robert's bed, but she didn't take his hand. "Tell me everything," she said. Her voice was eerily calm. "Jen, tell me everything. You owe me that much." So he did. He told her about New Orleans, about falling in love instantly, about realizing he was gay or bisexual or just in love with one specific man. He still wasn't sure which. He told her about the double life, the lies, the excuses, the careful compartmentalization. He told her about the guilt, the shame, the constant fear of being discovered. He told her about loving her too, really loving her, just not the way she deserved. And Jennifer listened, silent tears streaming down her face. When he finished, she sat in silence for a long time. Then, "Did you ever love me? Really?" "Yes," Robert said without hesitation. "Yes, I love you. You're my family, my best friend, the mother of my children. But you're not in love with me." Silence. "Maybe I was once," Robert finally said. In college, before I really understood myself. But no, not the way you needed me to be. Jennifer nodded slowly. 26 years, she said. We've been married for 26 years. And all this time, you've been thinking about him. Not all the time? Don't lie to me anymore. Robert flinched. I'm sorry. Stop saying that. Stop apologizing. It doesn't fix anything. I know. More silence. I want to hate you, Jennifer said quietly. I want to scream and rage and throw things. But you're dying. You're dying and I'm losing you, and I don't even know if I ever really had you. You had me. The parts of me that could be a good husband and father. Those parts were always real. But they weren't all of you. No, Jennifer stood up. I need some air, she said. I need to think. She walked out, and Robert broke down completely. Wednesday, October 30th, 2:47 a.m. Robert's monitors started alarming. His blood pressure had dropped to 72/38. His heart rate was 142 and irregular. His oxygen saturation was 76% despite being on 10 liters of oxygen. He was dying. I called Dr. Okafor and the family. Jennifer and the boys arrived within 30 minutes. Jake and Connor looked terrified, confused. Jennifer had clearly told them something because they were looking at their father with a mixture of love and betrayal. What's happening? Jake asked. His body is shutting down, I said gently. It could be hours. It could be minutes. I'm so sorry. Connor started crying. Jake put his arm around his brother. Jennifer stood apart from them, arms wrapped around herself. Can we have a minute with him? Jake asked. Alone? I nodded and stepped out. Through the window, I watched both boys move to either side of their father's bed. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I could see Robert crying, and I could see both boys crying too. After about 20 minutes, they came out. He wants to talk to Mom, Jake said quietly. Jennifer hesitated. Then she walked into the room. I stayed outside, but I could hear fragments through the door. Robert's voice, weak and struggling. Never meant to hurt you. Loved you the best way I could. I'm so sorry. Jennifer's voice, breaking. 26 years, Robert. I deserved the truth. I deserved to choose. More silence. Then Jennifer's voice again. Do you want him here, David? At the end? Long pause. Yes, Robert whispered. Yes, I want him here. Okay. Jen, don't. Don't thank me. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this because even now, even after everything, I don't want you to die alone with people who don't know who you really are. More crying. I did love you, Robert said. I do love you. I know, but it wasn't enough. No, it wasn't. Jennifer came out of the room. Her face was devastated but composed. Sharon, she said, can you call David? I don't have his number, but I assume you do. I hesitated. Please, she said. Robert doesn't have much time. David arrived at 4:23 a.m. He walked into the room hesitantly, like he expected to be thrown out again. Jennifer was sitting in the corner. The boys were on the couch by the window. Thank you, David said to Jennifer. She didn't respond, just looked away. David moved to Robert's bedside and took his hand. Hey, Rob, he said softly. Robert's eyes opened. You came. Of course I came. They stared at each other for a long moment, and I saw on Robert's face the thing that had been missing all week. Peace. Complete peace. I love you, Robert whispered. I love you too, David said. I've loved you for 23 years, and I'll love you for the rest of my life. Robert smiled, a real smile, the first real smile I'd seen from him since admission. Tell me about the garden, Robert said. What? Tell me about the garden, the one at the house, the one you've been working on. David's eyes filled with tears, but he started talking about roses and tomatoes and the Japanese maple he'd planted in the backyard. about the bird feeder that attracted cardinals, about the neighbor's cat that liked to nap in the sun on their porch, about the life they'd built together in the shadows. And Robert listened, his breathing slowing, his heart rate dropping. At 5:47 a.m., Dr. Okafor came in and checked his pupils. "It won't be long now," she said gently. Jennifer stood up and moved closer to the bed. She didn't touch Robert, but she was there, a witness to the end of their marriage and his life. At 6:12 a.m., Robert's breathing changed. The pattern became irregular, long pauses between breaths. Cheney-Stokes respiration. The end. David was still holding Robert's hand. Jennifer was standing at the foot of the bed. Jake and Connor were crying on the couch. "David," Robert whispered, "I'm here. Tell Jennifer, about the house." David looked at Jennifer. "What house?" she asked. David took a shaky breath. "Rob and we bought a house together 12 years ago in Decatur. That's where we've been living. When he told you he was working late or traveling for conferences, he was with me, at our house." Jennifer's face went white. "You've been living with him?" "Yes." "For 12 years?" "Yes." "While he came home to me?" "Yes." Jennifer sat down heavily. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Oh my God." "There's more," David said quietly. "What more could there possibly be?" Jennifer's voice was rising. "The box, from his office. There are letters in there. Letters I wrote to him over the years, photos of us, travel itineraries, receipts, records of our life together." Jennifer looked at Robert. "Where's the box?" "Marcus has it," Robert whispered, "in her office safe." "And she's known? The whole time?" "Yes." "Who else? Who else has known about this lie?" "Just Marcus. No one else." "Not even David's family?" David shook his head. "My parents are dead. I don't have siblings, just some cousins I haven't spoken to in years. Rob was my family." "My whole family." Jennifer started laughing, not funny laughter, hysterical laughter. "This is insane," she said. "This is absolutely insane. My husband of 26 years has been living with another man for 12 of those years, and I had no idea. "Mom," Jake started. "Did you know?" Jennifer turned on her sons. "Did either of you know?" "No," Connor said. "Mom, we had no idea. We swear." Jennifer looked back at Robert. "Anything else?" she asked. "Any other secrets you want to unload before you die? A second family somewhere? Other children I don't know about?" "No," Robert whispered. "Just this. Just David." "Just David," Jennifer repeated. "Just a 23-year affair and a 12-year secret life." At 6:34 a.m., Robert's breathing stopped, then started again, then stopped. Long pause, then one more breath, and then nothing. The monitor showed a flat line. Dr. Okafor checked for a pulse. "Time of death, 6:37 a.m., she said quietly. David collapsed into the chair, sobbing. Connor buried his face in Jake's shoulder. Jake stood frozen, staring at his father's body. And Jennifer. Jennifer walked out of the room. I found her in the hallway, sitting on the floor, back against the wall. 26 years, she said to no one. I gave him 26 years. I sat down beside her. "I'm so sorry," I said. "Do you know what the worst part is?" she asked. "What?" "I can't even mourn him properly. Because I don't know who I'm mourning. The man I thought I married? He never existed. And the man he actually was? I never knew him. I've been a nurse for 40 years, and I've learned that this is the cruelest kind of grief. Grieving someone who was never really yours. But there was one more thing. One more layer Jennifer didn't know yet. 2 days later, she called me. "Sharon? It's Jennifer Mitchell. Can we meet? There's something I need to talk to you about." We met at a coffee shop near the hospital. Jennifer looked like she hadn't slept since Robert died. Dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. Marcus gave me the box, she said, the one from Robert's office. And? There are letters, dozens of letters from David, going back 23 years, and photos of them together, at restaurants, on trips, at their house. She paused. But there was something else in the box, something I don't understand. She pulled out an envelope and handed it to me. Inside was a letter, from Robert, to Jennifer, dated 3 weeks before his diagnosis. I read it. Dear Jennifer, if you're reading this, I'm probably gone. And you probably know about David by now. I want you to understand something. Everything with you was real. Our wedding, our children, our 26 years together. It was all real. It just wasn't complete. I met David and I understood something about myself that I'd been running from my entire life. But by then, I was married to you. I had 2 sons. I had built a life, and I couldn't leave. Not because I didn't love David enough, but because I loved you too much to destroy you. So I tried to love both of you. I tried to be a good husband and father while also being authentic with the person I love in the way I needed. I know that's not fair. I know you deserved better. But I'm a coward, Jennifer. I always have been. I couldn't choose between my authentic life and my real life because they were both real to me. The house in Decatur is in both our names, mine and David's. David has a lawyer who will contact you. I've left instructions that half the house value goes to you. It's not enough. Nothing could be enough, but it's something. I've also left my life insurance, $2 million, to be split 3 ways. 1/3 to you. 1/3 to be divided between Jake and Connor. 1/3 to David. Marcus has all the documents. I know you'll be angry. You have every right to be. But please don't hate me. Or if you do, please don't let Jake and Connor hate me. I was a flawed man who loved imperfectly. But I did love all of you. I'm sorry I couldn't be the man you deserved. I'm sorry I couldn't be brave enough to tell you the truth while I was alive. Forgive me if you can. Forget me if you can't. Robert Jennifer watched me read it. He knew, she said quietly. 3 weeks before he got diagnosed, he wrote this. Like he knew he was running out of time. Maybe he did, I said. And the money, half the house, 1/3 of the life insurance. After everything, he still... She couldn't finish. He still loved you, I said gently, in his own complicated way. But it wasn't enough. No. Jennifer took the letter back and stared at it. Do you want to know the worst part? She asked. What? I went to the house, in Decatur. I wanted to see it. The place where he'd been living his real life. And? It's beautiful. A cute little bungalow with a garden. Wind chimes on the porch. 2 chairs facing each other on the back deck. Photos on the walls of Robert and David together. She paused. And you know what I realized? What? He was happy there. In those photos, he looks genuinely, completely happy. A happiness I never saw in our home. She started crying. How am I supposed to hate him when I can see that he was just trying to survive? Trying to be true to himself while not destroying the people he loved? I've been a nurse for 40 years, and I've learned that this is the question no one can answer. How do you hate someone for trying to love honestly in a world that wouldn't let them? 3 weeks after Robert's death, I got another call from Jennifer. I met with David, she said, yesterday at the house in Decatur. How did that go? Better than I expected. We talked for 3 hours. He told me everything, about how they met, how they fell in love, how Robert struggled with guilt every single day, how David learned to accept being the secret. That must have been hard to hear. It was, but it also helped, because I realized David suffered too. He spent 23 years loving someone he could only have half of. That's its own kind of hell. What are you going to do? I asked. I'm taking my half of the house money and the life insurance. The boys and I are going to travel. Europe, maybe. Or Asia. Places Robert and I always talked about going but never did. That sounds good. And David can keep the house. I signed papers yesterday transferring my half to him. He shouldn't have to lose his home on top of everything else. I was surprised. That's very generous. It's not generous. It's fair. That house was his home. I have my house. And the truth is, I don't want any part of the life they built together. It hurts too much. She paused. But there's something else I need to tell you. What? I found another letter in Robert's nightstand at our house. A letter he never sent. It was addressed to me, but it's dated 2 years ago. What did it say? That he was planning to tell me. He'd decided to come clean about everything. He'd even told David. They were going to sit down with me together and explain everything. What stopped him? Me. Her voice broke. I got sick, breast cancer scare. It turned out to be benign, but for 3 months we thought I was dying, and Robert, he couldn't tell me while I was going through that. So he waited, and then more time passed, and then he got sick, and he ran out of time. I closed my eyes. Robert Mitchell had tried to tell the truth. He'd just been too late. I think about that a lot, Jennifer said. About how if I hadn't gotten sick, maybe he would have told me. Maybe we could have figured something out. Divorce, friendship, some kind of honest arrangement. You can't blame yourself for that. I don't. I wonder what might have been different. I saw Jennifer one more time, 6 months after Robert's death. She and the boys had come back to Atlanta from their trip to Europe. She stopped by the hospital to thank me. For what? I asked. For being honest with me. For not trying to protect me from the truth. For letting me see my husband for who he really was. I'm not sure I did much. You did more than you know. She paused. I'm okay now. Not healed. Maybe I never will be. But okay. And the boys? They're processing. Jake is angry, Connor is sad, but they're both seeing therapists. We talk about it, about who their father really was, about how you can love someone and still acknowledge they hurt you. That's important. And David and we're not friends. I don't know if we ever will be, but we're not enemies either. He sends me photos sometimes, of the garden, of the house, of things that remind him of Robert, and I don't hate getting them. That's progress. Jennifer smiled, a real smile. I've learned something through all of this, she said. What? That love is more complicated than we want it to be. That people aren't just good or bad, honest or liars. They're messy and conflicted and trying their best. She reached into her purse and pulled out a photo. Robert and David, standing in front of their house in Decatur, arms around each other, smiling. I keep this in my wallet now, Jennifer said, next to the photo of our wedding day. Why? Because both versions of Robert were real. The man who married me and raised our sons, and the man who loved David for 23 years. They were both him, and he deserves to be remembered completely. I've been a nurse for 40 years, and I've seen a lot of grief, but this was the kind of grief that transforms, the kind that doesn't destroy you, the kind that teaches you that love, no matter how complicated, no matter how painful, is still love. I've been a nurse for 40 years. I've seen families destroyed by secrets. I've seen marriages end in hatred and betrayal. I've seen children disown their parents. But I've also seen something else. I've seen that truth, even when it comes too late, still matters. I've seen that people can hold space for multiple truths at once. I've seen that you can grieve someone and be angry at them, that you can forgive someone and still be hurt, that you can understand why someone did what they did and still wish they'd made different choices. Robert Mitchell lived 2 lives. He loved 2 people. He hurt everyone. But he also did his best in an impossible situation. And Jennifer Mitchell? She chose to remember him completely. Not just as the husband who lied to her for 26 years, but as the complex, flawed, loving man who tried to honor 2 truths that couldn't coexist. If you're listening to this story and you're keeping a secret that's eating you alive, hear me clearly. Tell the truth before it's too late. before you run out of time, because the people you love deserve to know who you really are, even if it hurts, even if it destroys things, even if it costs you everything. Because living a lie costs more. It costs you yourself. And in the end, that's the highest price of all. Time runs out faster than you think. Tell your truth while you still can.